Okay, there we go.
Hey, there we go. Welcome. I am so excited, Kat, to be here with you and with whomever is wanting to join us in this conversation. Kat is a beautiful recovered long hauler, a fellow recovered long hauler, and I feel so honored to be speaking with you, Kat. I've been joining you and following you on Instagram, and as I was saying before we started this recording, I celebrate and resonate very much with the positive way that you have addressed the COVID long haul situation and your offering to our fellow life sufferers. So I celebrate that, I acknowledge that, I thank you for your service and your offer, and it's a joy to have you here. So I would like to start this conversation by asking you if you can give us a little perspective of your experience and your story, just a brief introduction to who you are and how you've come along this long and not so easy process.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to share my story because in the beginning I was so lost, and I just want to help anyone else who feels that way. I got COVID for the first time in November 2020. And at the time I was 28 weeks pregnant and I had a toddler. So it was a doozy. And afterwards I was pretty unwell, blood pressure issues, all these strange symptoms that really lined up with being pregnant. And then my landlord sold our house and my husband lost his job, and just a cascade of things that, of course, I'm having these symptoms. I'm about to have a baby. I'm losing my house. I have to move in with my in-laws. And then when my son was delivered by emergency C-section, all of these symptoms got worse and worse and worse. And I had a newborn and a toddler, and we had to move across the country, and I couldn't figure out what was going on. And I went through the slew of doctors, a cardiologist, a gastroenterologist, every ologist on the planet. And basically I was told, oh, it's probably postpartum hormones, no big deal, you're anxious.
Right.
And it was only by chance that my mom sent me the link to a Facebook long haulers group. And I looked through what people were talking about. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is COVID. And at that point, it was like 9 months since my first infection with COVID. It never even occurred to me because there was just all this other stuff going on. And for a while, I was just so despairing. I thought, okay, I'm going to have a chronic illness for the rest of my life. No one knows what this is. I have 2 kids and I couldn't even get up to rock my baby at night. And that just wasn't going to work for me. I wanted to be the mom that my kids needed. And I just kind of stubbornly put my foot down and decided there has to be a way to recover from this. And I went through everything. I learned all about EFT. My parents are actually EFT practitioners, but it didn't even occur to me, so I learned all about EFT and all these different healing modalities. And I started the Gupta program for rewiring my brain, and that was really helpful. But as I was doing it, even when I started to see some success, I realized, okay, the biggest thing is that I have to choose to get better. That moment that I put my foot down and said, I'm going to do this, I'm going to get better, that was when everything changed. As soon as I decided that it was possible to recover. And so I've really been on this journey of completely changing my mind, basically, about everything I believed, and just building a foundation of hope and positivity, and it's spreading it around for my family, for other long haulers, and everyone that I can, because it completely changed my life. And in actually January what year is it? 2022, I got COVID again. My whole family did. And I had this total crash, and I thought, oh, I have to start this all over. And by March, I was on the beach with my kids. I did a cartwheel, which I don't recommend postpartum, but it just, having those tools to change my mind really did change my life. So that's what I'm all about sharing now.
Right. Well, I love it because that is one of the many areas in which I resonate with you. As you know, my sharing, my offering to fellow long haulers is emotional healing. And it's what you were saying, mindset and attitude and approaches and belief system and brain wiring and all that. So that was my next question to you. And it's you started to say it already, but what would you say is the role of that inner state in the overall healing?
I think that it's key. I actually don't think that you can truly and fully heal if you don't work through the emotional part, because your body, you feel emotions in it, right? And it's not disconnected from your brain. This whole thing is one moving part. And sometimes I think we like to box in body and brain and like a mechanic breaking ourselves apart. But I have come to find that the emotional aspect is almost more important than the physical aspect. A lot of times when your physical health is poor, even by choice, because you're not taking care of yourself, it's because of that emotional state, because of your feelings of self-worth or whatever other emotional issues are buried under there. And I try to tell people this all the time, is that it's not that you shouldn't focus on making sure you're taking care of your physical body, or even when you do a lot of brain retraining programs, it's really great to do those affirmations, but you can't ignore the emotions that come up that are tied to it, because that really, really drags you down.
Right, right. And it also goes back to everything else that has to do with the inner work, right? So what you were saying before we started the recording, we were talking about the language that we use to talk to ourselves, the vocabulary, because there is sick and illness vocabulary, and then healing vocabulary, and the questions that we ask ourselves, right? The more like suppressing or draining questions or disempowering questions, and then the more empowered questions you were very beautifully explaining in your Instagram account, which, by the way, before we finish, I would like you to tell us about your username so that we can all follow you. And you were talking about how to shift from that victim why, of course, very unconscious, and there's no judgment here, but the why, the dwelling in the why me, why now, etc., puts us kind of in a victim and disempowered place, and how we can shift that with stronger and more healing words.
Yeah, definitely.
Beautiful. Okay, Kat, my next question, and is a beautiful question, I think, a beautiful topic, actually, not always easy, but we've been exploring that lately with the folks that I've been working with, and is relationships. So you and I know, and the 100 million other long haulers in the world know, that one of the many areas in our lives that gets impacted by this long COVID situation is relationships, and that is almost inevitable, I think. Is something sudden. This condition is something sudden, unplanned, unexpected. It, for many, becomes chronic. So for the sufferer and for the people around, is something new, is scary, is frightening, is different, etc. Some of us, and I was sharing a little bit of my part of the story with you, I lost my marriage to this. I lost many friendships, and even relatives distanced themselves from me, because I think humans never get trained really to face the illness of a loved one. And some folks are not interested at all. And who can judge that, is whatever. But there are some other very blessed like you, who have a very strong relationship or relationship support network around. So I would like you to share with us a little bit of what has been your experience there, about your beautiful marriage and the support of your husband, and what would be your message first to those who have lost a lot of relationships to this, and also to those who have been lucky and blessed like you to have those strong bonds, those people that choose to stay with them regardless of how scary it is, and regardless of they not knowing how to support really, but they have been there. So thank you.
Well, so my husband and I are actually middle school sweethearts, and we have we've really been through it all. And I think that helps. But it definitely is really rocky. And I think that there's a time to be in grief when you lose a relationship, and when you are losing relationships, even not romantic relationships, over this. Because I have lost friends, especially friends who just don't believe that long haul is a thing, and it's so painful when you're going through it. But I would first encourage you, even though it's very hard, to have compassion for those people who distance themselves from you, because there's always a root cause to this. It's not that they are heartless. It might be hard for them to watch you struggle. It might be that they were never given the love and commitment that they need in order to understand how to do that. And I would also really dig deep into yourself and remind yourself that this has nothing to do with you. And that's another really hard one to come to terms with in your relationship, but how your partner feels even about you really has nothing to do with you. And you'll learn that more and more as you dive into working through your mindset and working on your self-worth as you get better. And just as best as you can, try to let go their feelings and their experiences. And even if it feels like they are lacking in compassion for you, just try to hold that space, because we're all human and we never really know what's going on in their hearts. So the best you can do is just protect yours. And, if you are in a marriage and you have an amazing husband like I do, or wife or partner, make sure that you are still holding that compassion. There were definitely times where I kind of forgot about my husband's needs, and I feel so terrible, but you just get so wrapped up in yourself. It's easy to. And I think in some ways we were really fortunate that I was postpartum when all this started, because, in that season when you've just had a baby, you're kind of in the same mindset of like, okay, one partner is handling a lot more than the other. I was resting and taking care of the baby. So my husband kind of knew the drill in that regard. It was our second kid, but gratitude and compassion goes a really long way from your partner, and just reminding them and yourself, this is a season. And when you're married, when you're in a long-term relationship, you're going to have a lot of seasons, and some of them feel like bitter winters, really long, bitter winters. But you still just have to keep each other warm and keep providing in the way that you can. And remember that someday it'll be summer again. It always is. There's always blooms and sunshine. You kind of have to take it day by day.
Right. I love it. And I love your last phrase, because that is also how you end many of your posts on Instagram. And it's just hang in there, keep believing, because this is just a phase in your life. This is just a season. And like any other season, it will pass. And we need to trust that. When we're in the midst of this crazy different thing that we didn't expect, we don't see necessarily the light or the ending. And what I, like you, encourage people is to trust even without proof. That is something that we need to regain from this process, and is trusting life, trusting whoever you trust and yourself, and that this is also going to pass. And I am so happy to be here with you, because it's two of us showing how it is possible. Kat finds herself as a recovered long hauler, and me too. I cannot tell you that I am 100% symptom free, but I am almost symptom free, and I gained my life back. I am adoring my life. I am thriving regardless of the occasional pain or occasional fatigue, but I am determined, just like you, to be healed. So it is possible. If we could do it, you can do it. So thank you again, Kat. It's been a super joy. I would like you to please tell us your Instagram name so that we can all follow you. I'm going to write it down on, wherever underneath this video link.
Sorry, I'm losing you. I think my internet just kicked, but yes, I would love to share my page.
So it is Tenacious Healing, right?
Tenacious Healing, yes.
Tenacious Healing. And the name says it all. And as Kat was saying at the beginning of our conversation, healing is a choice. So let's choose it. And here we are. She is here. I am here to support you, to inspire you. We were also saying before the recording that our difficult experiences, we agree that if we manage to inspire one life, touch one life, share the hope, the possibility, then all this suffering would be worthy. And just know that we are here for you. So thank you again, Kat. It's been beautiful, and we'll stay in touch.
Bye. Thank you so much. It was great talking with you.
Sí, gracias.